Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. I'm doing a late night session with you today. I think that within my household, this is the best time for filming, if I have to be honest, because my child has already gone to bed and it's quiet and it's peaceful and I can just take my time to talk to you about all of the books that I've picked out to talk about today. So yeah, this is the reason we're doing this in a late night session. I think it's like 11 p.m. at the moment. I have my scented candle just for the atmosphere of it, and I can't wait to talk about the books that I've picked out for you today. I'm going to be talking about my December reads, all of the books that I read within the month of December. And I had a couple of favorites on there. I had a couple of misses as well. I just want to go through all of the books that kind of wrapped up my reading year of 2021. So just stick around and find out what I have in store for you today. The month of December was quite a strange month because the first couple of days, actually the first week within the month, I couldn't focus on any books. So I kind of decided to give myself a break from reading and just focus on my work engagements and personal engagements that I had for the month of December. And I'm actually really happy that I did that because after that break wrapped up, I was able to focus on the books that I picked up after that. In a more really focused way, and I appreciated the books that I picked up even more, and I got really productive. I found my groove back, so I was able to finish 11 full-length novels and a couple of short stories in the end of the month, literally. And that means that the month kind of ended up being really productive for me, even though I didn't spend any time reading in the beginning of the month. I had 3 5-star reads, 7 4-star reads, 4 3-star reads, and 1 2-star read. So it was quite a productive month. I'm happy with how it ended up, and I'm going to be going ahead and discussing all the books in the order that I read them. The first book that I managed to finish within the month of December is by Lucy Barker. It's called Battle Royale. And I have to say that I felt compelled to pick this book up because it had a stunning cover and the premise of the book just sounded so cute and so interesting to me. There were tropes that I saw that really intrigued me. It's an enemies to lovers story. There is a royal wedding involved within the book. There is baking involved, a competition regarding baking as well. So I was really intrigued to pick it up. I have to say that I enjoyed the first half of the book and I was really connecting to the characters. I really liked Lucy, who is the female lead within the book. I liked Dominic, who is really this kind of closed off, a bit of an arrogant male lead. But yeah, at the halfway mark, I think that the book lost me a little bit because I felt like I was getting bored a little bit. The book was kind of dragging on for too long. I wanted it to wrap up, which is never a good sign. And also, I felt like there were too many things going on. Like the book wanted to do a lot with a lot of different topics within it, but I think it should have just focused on certain aspects that were the most engaging within the book. So at some point it just lost me. So I gave this book 3 stars. It was cute. I have to say that I did appreciate it for what it was, but I kind of had hopes for a little bit more out of it, and or maybe actually a little bit less in this specific respect because there were just too many tropes within it and it could have done with a bit less. The second book that I read last month is one which I had highly anticipated in the year of 2021. I absolutely adored Stephanie Garber's Orwell series, so when I found out that Jax is going to get his own series, I was absolutely psyched. I read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber as my second book within the month. And I have to say that I was just so happy to be back within the Orwell world, and Jax's story is really compelling to me. I was happy to see that some of the characters of the Orwell series revisited within this book, even though it was for a short amount of time. I was just happy to see that they were back within the world. And Also, I love the development within this book. I do have to say that I wanted a bit more off of it. I wanted to know more of what is going on between Jax and the female lead. But yeah, I still adored it. I gave it 4 stars because I kind of wanted a bit more off of it, but also because there were some moments within the book which felt a bit too melodramatic for my taste. But in general, I just love being back within the world of the Fates. This author has a very specific way of creating a magical world, and I absolutely adore it. I can't wait to continue on with the series, and I do highly recommend that you read the Carval series first and then pick up this one. I'm going to talk about Love Sincerely Yours by Sara next. I have to say that this book sounded really fun to me, like a bit of a quick and steamy read, which is what I needed at that specific moment. It is a forbidden romance between a boss and an employee, and also it has a very fun aspect of communication between both of them. They're exchanging emails, and actually they're exchanging emails anonymously. So Peyton, who is the female lead, sent an anonymous email to her boss stating that she really likes him, and then he is kind of trying to figure out who she is, and that's a really fun aspect within the book. I really love that one. But I have to say that there was something that really impacted my reading enjoyment of the book, and that is the male character Rome. He was a bit too much of an asshole, a bit too much of an arrogant, kind of an entitled type of person. I really don't enjoy those types of male main characters. I can appreciate an alpha male, but when it gets to be too much, it kind of impacts my enjoyment. And I also cannot suspend my disbelief in situations where they act like Neanderthals or like those types of men that kind of I haven't seen any of those types of men in real life, so I cannot suspend my disbelief in such situations. So yeah, that kind of impacted my reading enjoyment a bit. So I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy the female lead, Peyton. She was, in the end, she turned out to be a real badass, and I really liked that she stood up for herself and that she was working towards her own career development, and she was also really working towards working out her feelings for Rome. So I really did enjoy that aspect of the book, but I couldn't give it more than 3 stars. The next book on my list I had actually previously discussed in one of my previous videos, and I believe the Best of 2021 video. I'm going to link it down below if you want to check out more content on this book, because I just don't want to discuss it in length in this video. It's Kelly Yang's Parachutes. I did give this book 5 stars. It really fully deserves it. It was a marvelous read, and it left me feeling very unsettled and very uncomfortable, but also it just provoked so many thoughts and so many kind of internal battles within myself regarding the topics that it covered. So it was a really, really marvelous read, and if you want to know more about it, just click on the video down below. The next book that I picked up was exactly the type of book that I needed in my life exactly at that point in time when I picked it up. It's The Cheat Sheet by Sara Adams. It's a sports romance between Nathan and Bree, and it's also a friends to lovers trope. I absolutely adore that trope. I have to say, I really have a soft spot for stories which are written about friends who become lovers. They need to be written well because sometimes they're not really worked out very well. But in this specific situation, their friendship was portrayed in such a fun and cute way. They have been friends for quite some time, and they've always felt something for each other, but out of fear that they're going to ruin their friendship, they've never acted upon their feelings. And they have such interesting banter and funny situations together, and they have these routines so that they can always keep in touch, and that just really melted my heart. I absolutely was rooting for them already from the start of the book. I couldn't wait to see how their story would progress. So I absolutely needed this book in my life exactly when I read it. I loved it. I give it 4 stars and I highly recommend it. Next, I picked up Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. I am well aware that the Brown Sisters series is probably one of the most beloved series in recent times within the romance book community, and I have a bit of an unpopular opinion. I kind of didn't love the first book all too much. Get a Life, Chloe Brown was a bit of a struggle for me to get through. Maybe because it was so hyped up, I had high expectations off of it and they were not met. I could not connect to the characters very well, and the banter that I expected fell flat for me, so I was really hesitant to pick up the second and the third books within the series. But I'm really happy that I read the second book. Take a Hint, Dani Brown. I'm sorry, I'm getting them all confused. Take a Hint, Dani Brown was a real success for me because I really could connect to both of the characters very well. The fake dating trope within the book was a total hit for me because I've come to enjoy this trope very much last year. And also, I could connect to Zafir so much. The representation of his character was just so well done, and I really, really enjoyed this book. I have to say, I'm going to be continuing on with the series. I'm going to read Eve Brown's story sometime this year, and I really hope that it's going to be a success again. The next book that I picked up is such an interesting and such a marvelous story. It's called The Inheritance of Orquidea Divina, and it's by Zoraida Cordova. I think you pronounce her name like this. If I'm butchering it, I apologize. This book follows the life of Orquidea Divina. We follow her childhood years throughout whenever she is actually already an elderly woman. And at the beginning of the story, we actually find out that she is summoning all of her children and grandchildren to visit her because she wants to read out her inheritance to them. And that's quite a unique concept because she hasn't passed away yet, but she already wants to bestow some kind of tasks to them. And we already find out from the beginning of the book that there's a lot of magical aspects within this story, and I have to say that you have to be prepared to really focus when reading this book because there's a lot of perspectives which are portrayed. There's dual timelines, and I had a bit of a struggle the first like 30 or 40% within the story because I was struggling to figure out who was who, what was what, and what was happening. But once I pushed through that mark, I was so happy that I did because there were just so many interesting aspects within the book. It was so well written, so beautifully written, and there were aspects of a mystery within it. There were aspects of the magical world within it. There was a romance within it and so many interesting family dynamics. There was just so much to unpack within this book. I absolutely adored it. I love the ending of it and I highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. It really deserves it, and if you pick it up, you won't regret it. It is time to talk about my favorite book that I read in the month of December. It's Real by Kennedy Ryan. And I've mentioned it before, but anything that Kennedy Ryan writes is absolute treasure. And she's one of my all-time favorite authors. I absolutely adore all of the books that I've read by her. Real is absolutely no surprise for me. I knew that it was going to be a marvelous read and I loved it through and through. It's revolving around Cannon, who is a Hollywood director, and Neva, who is an up-and-coming actress. Both of them are dealing with different types of struggles within their life. Cannon has been dealing with the loss of his mother, who died after a long battle with MS, and he is now at a point in his life where he has picked up a very big project. He wants to do that project justice, so he is looking for specifically the right actress to portray Desi Blue, who was this woman, this singer in the 20s, who had a very extraordinary life, but was kind of forgotten in history. So he finally finds Desi Blue in the face of Neva. Neva on her own has different types of struggles within her life. She herself is battling with chronic illness. She has lupus. And also she's been dealing with a lot of family struggles with her sister, but also with her mother. So both of them have different types of struggles within the book, and when they come together, they're kind of focusing their efforts on bringing Desi Blue's story to justice and to life. I absolutely love both of their perspectives, but I also love that we got Desi Blue's story, the motion picture of Desi Blue. We kind of saw it within progression within the book, and that was just so marvelously done. Kennedy Ryan writes so beautifully and she's so extremely focused. When she focuses on specific tropes, they're done so well. The representation of chronic illness within this book is just so marvelously done. The romance is epic, really epic. And also the other tropes, I don't want to give out too much about this book. I really do want you to pick it up. If there is any book that you're going to pick up off of this video, please pick this one. Everything is just done in the best possible way. I don't have any types of critiques about this book. It was an absolute 5 out of 5 stars for me, and I'm sorry I couldn't include it in my favorites of 2021 video because I read this book after I'd recorded that video. And I'm also really surprised that this book didn't get picked up for the Goodreads Choice Awards. If this book had been nominated, I would have voted it for sure. And yeah, really it deserves all the love that it can get. If you want to pick it up, you won't regret it as well. Ooh, the next book I'm going to discuss is one which is a bit controversial in my opinion. It's Forget Me Not by QB Tyler. This book I picked up because I saw that Jess from Peace Love Books and McKay from Oh Hey It's McKay, from their channels, I saw that they were raving about it and they loved this book. So I decided to do a bit of research on it, and I saw that a lot of people were divided about it. Some people absolutely loved it, but a lot of people hated it because there's cheating involved. So when I went into the book, I was prepared for the cheating aspect and I wasn't surprised about it. I didn't mind it, to be very honest. It had a very good, it was a very good aspect to deal with within the book. But I have to say that when I went through the synopsis, I kind of got vibes like this book was going to be similar to All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I do have to say that All Your Perfects is one of my all-time favorite books, and it involves a marriage in trouble and a couple who is having trouble with conceiving. This is also the situation with Forget Me Not, so I kind of had expectations that it would be similarly as good. There is also this interesting aspect within Forget Me Not, that the main character is having problems with amnesia after a car accident. So it sounded like a really interesting and very kind of well thought of aspect within the book. But then I started to read it and I instantly disliked Bennett, who is the male main character. I loved Olivia. I have to say that Olivia's character was portrayed in a very realistic way. Her feelings, her struggles, her confusion with the situation was really realistically done. So I loved her part of the story. But Bennett's character really didn't work well for me. I absolutely hated the way that he approached the situation with the cheating, with how he wanted to solve the situation. He basically kind of wanted to solve everything by using his physical attraction with his wife, just using sex for as a solution to their problems, and that just didn't really work out well for me. It's not realistic in my opinion, so I kind of dislike that aspect of the book. That's why I gave it 3 stars. I wanted to give it more, but I just couldn't. There was just too much that impacted my enjoyment of the book. The next book on my list is my only 2-star read within the month of December. It's Liv Morris's Bossy Nights, and I have to say that this book, I honestly didn't have too high of expectations off of this book, but again, it was so bad that even those expectations were too high. I had my eyes rolling throughout probably most of the book. There were too many things happening that I just couldn't suspend my disbelief to kind of try and enjoy those aspects within the book. Just to give you a couple of examples, the main character, the heroine within the book, she's 23, recently graduated college. She's in Manhattan to try and score an internship or a job. And she's 23, a bombshell of a beauty, blonde, tall legs, just the epitome of the most beautiful woman in the world, but she is a virgin and totally clueless about relationships with men, which just doesn't make any sense to me. And she claims to have no money at all, but she's staying at the swankiest hotel in town. Just couldn't get on board with that. And then she goes to the restaurant and meets the hotel owner, and he is coincidentally also the owner of the publishing house where she wants to intern, and that just went too much overboard for me in terms of coincidences within the book. Overall, I just couldn't enjoy it too much because a lot of things were happening that didn't make any sense to me. So yeah, a 2-star read, a generous 2-star read, and yeah, that's about it. The last full-length novel that I read was by Natasha Madison. It's called Something So Right, and I did love it. I had some issues with it. That's why I gave it only 3 stars, but I did overall enjoy it. It's a sports romance, and it revolves around a mom of 2 kids who was recently divorced because her husband cheated on her, and she meets her love interest at the hockey rink where she is a rehab trainer. She meets her new client who is this famous hockey player, and they have a bit of a situation when they meet, a bit of a conflict, and that's where kind of a bit of a fun situation commences, and they have fun banter between them. So I did appreciate that part of their relationship, but there was too much insta love for me, and I really, this is really a big pet peeve for me. I can't get on board with people who get into a serious relationship within the progression of a few weeks time. And yeah, that's why I gave it 3 stars. Had the story kind of evolved more gradually, and had they communicated more and relied less on the physical attraction and the steamy scenes and the sexual progression of the relationship, I would have been more than happy to give it 4 or 5 stars, but alas, it wasn't meant to be, so I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy it, but I wanted a bit more off of it. Last but not least, I read 4 short stories by George Orwell. I read A Hanging, You and the Atom Bomb, Books versus Cigarettes, and also Shooting an Elephant. I gave all of the short stories 4 stars with the exception of Shooting an Elephant. I gave that one 5 stars. It was absolutely marvelously written. And even for such a short story, it was just packing quite a few topics to consider. And I have to say that George Orwell has such a marvelous style of writing, and everything that he has written quite a while ago is still very relevant today. So if you're interested in any of his works, you can definitely start off with his short stories because they're very interesting to consider. I do obviously recommend his novels as well. Animal Farm and 1984, favorites of mine, so definitely pick those up if you haven't read them yet. but the short stories are also worth your time, so pick them up as well. This wraps up all of the books that I read in the month of December of 2021. Thank you so much for sticking around while I discuss them. Please like my video, subscribe to my channel, and also follow me on Instagram. If you have read any of the books that I discussed today, please leave your opinions down below. I would love to read them. And also keep an eye out on my channel. I'll be posting very soon a new video with a bit of a fun idea that I have in mind, so keep an eye out for that one. I want to wish you a very marvelous, beautiful day. Take care, happy reading, and bye-bye.